Hey, Tyriel here, so welcome to the VeryEvilShadow channel. Here we're back with the Meta Quest Pro, and in this video we're gonna compare it with this kind of predecessor, the Meta Quest 2. So this video is for you if you're wondering if you should upgrade from the Quest 2 to the new release Quest Pro, or if it's your first time hearing about the metaverse and you wanna jump in and you don't know if you wanna spend the big bucks on it. I know I said metaverse, I apologize. So well, let's discover it together in this video. Let's get to the bottom of it, let's get into it. And here we are, so comparing these two Meta standalone headsets is not an easy task. That's why I decided to divide this video in different sections, and we're gonna give a point, of course, of the one that's better, or if there's even a tie. I'm gonna leave the points always there in the corner of the video so we can keep track of them, and if the number don't lie, we're gonna have a winner. So well, let's start with the first section. Let's start with comfort. Now, this is a particular topic for me because I don't find either of them comfortable, but of course their mileage may vary because comfort is very personal indeed. Talking about my experience though, these are uncomfortable in two different ways. We talked about the Quest 2 a lot. It's very front heavy because all the hardware is in the front, and of course you feel it really on your face. Of course you can mod it, but it's still gonna be always front heavy. Instead, the Quest Pro tries to be a bit more balanced. At least they move the battery on the back and some components to actually have a better weight balance, and in theory it should be much more comfortable. The problem is still is a very heavy headset, and in my case it really presses a lot on my forehead, making it impossible to use it for more than an hour and a half pretty much before having a big headache. We gotta give a point though, and on the Quest Pro at least they tried, so yeah. It gets a first point here. And now let's talk about build quality. Well, this is pretty straightforward because the Quest 2 feels cheap. Just right out of the box. It was made to be cheap at the end of the day. The Quest Pro really feels solid in your hand, all the materials are very premium, and premium is really the right word. It's the kind of experience it gives you while you're holding it. I mean, there's really not a doubt here, the Quest Pro has a much better build quality. So let's get to the next point, that is actually the design. Here we're not really talking about how good looking it is compared to the other, it's actually the idea, how it follows that idea and how it's built to have that idea in mind. And while talking about the Quest 2, the only thing that we're trying to do designing this thing is to keep the cost as low as possible. Not really a noble way to do it, but it worked. Instead, the Quest Pro is built with the design in mind to be a working machine. It has to be comfortable. They didn't really do it for me, but the idea is that they thought about everything, how to balance this device in the best way possible, how to make it as small as possible using the new lenses, how to make it look and feel premium, to have something that you actually want to wear and want to show off in a way. It's worth nothing, but this over-engineered thing actually looks amazing to my eye. It's not for that, but for all the previous parts that, yes, we have to give the point to the Quest Pro. So now let's get to the exciting part. Let's start talking about the screens. Well, here talking about the resolution, it's very similar. We have those 32 points of pixels difference, and that's about it. So you will think that the Quest 2 with a higher resolution is better, also because it runs 120 Hz. But yeah, that's not the case, because the Quest Pro uses new generation displays that actually have hundreds of dimming zones, and that makes them unbelievably good. The colors here are incredible, the screen is bright, the contrast is very good, and the blacks are very good, talking about an LCD display. So the point goes to the Quest Pro, but visuals are not just about the screen, are actually also about the lenses. The Quest 2 uses an older generation Fresnel lenses. They're pretty good, to be honest. The clarity in the center is very good, but they are their limit. Instead, on the Quest Pro, we have a new generation lenses, the pancake lenses, that make clarity absolutely incredible. Now really, these are the best lenses I've ever seen in any VR headset right now. And we're not talking about just the center of the image, but also in the peripheral view. Everywhere you look at, well, it's gonna be clear, and it's gonna be super easy to read text and interact with the environment and the things around you. Again, it was built for productivity, so reading is a very important thing over there. The point goes, of course, to the Quest Pro by a long margin. Oh, by the way, if you want to see the comparison for the screen and the visual more in depth, well, I made two through the lenses video, so I'm gonna leave them in the description below and you can check really everything about it. But now let's talk about the IPD adjustment. Well, the Quest 2 uses something that I never really understood. A 3 steps IPD adjustment. So that means that if you're not in the perfect range, well, your visuals might not be as good. Instead, the Quest Pro goes back to the origin and you can just grab the lenses and move them back and forth to have a millimeter accuracy to the position of your eyes. Also with the new lenses, even if you're not in the perfect center, you're gonna be completely fine. That's why the range is actually bigger. So yeah, of course the points goes to the Quest Pro. Again. And the last thing to talk about visuals is actually the field of view, the FOV. They're pretty similar, to be honest, in these two headsets. There's no much of a difference. Here though we have two things to notice. The first one is that on the Quest Pro it's not really that immersive because as a design choice we have the sides that are completely open, so you can actually see the external environment while you are in VR. That was made for having mixed reality experience, like if it was an AR headset, but yeah, it takes out some of immersion. Instead of the Quest 2 being a proper VR headset, feels much more immersive. We have to say that the FOV is not just, how large is the view or how immersive it is, but it's actually how things feel in the FOV. On the Quest 2, well, the center part is perfect, going around you lose a bit of the clarity. Instead, on the Quest Pro, the field of view is completely usable. They both have their problems, so well, we're gonna give the first dive. But now let's talk about the controllers. Well, these are the things that feels more like a next generation thing in the package of the Quest Pro. So gone are the rings for the tracking that are not gonna rely anymore on the cameras of the headset, but they're gonna rely on their own camera, because each controller has actually 3 cameras to track themselves, and inside they have even a processor. Now, because of that, the battery life is not gonna be as good as this one that I don't remember when I actually changed the batteries. It's around the 8 hours, a bit less, depends on the use. But yeah, other than that, they feel absolutely fantastic. The weight is very good. They have 3 different haptic motors. They have integrated batteries and they charge magnetically instead of using AA battery. The cool thing is that you can use them actually with the Quest 2 as well. But the big downside is that they're as expensive as the Quest 2, just the controllers. Ouch. Oh, and cool thing, you can even add a tip to the bottom to actually write in VR. It's super inventive and super cool. But hey, we have to give a point. The point goes to the Quest Pro. And because we talked about controllers, we have to talk about tracking, of course. And this was completely unexpected because they're both inside-out tracking headsets. That means that they use the cameras to track their position, and in the case of the Quest 2, to track the position of the controllers as well. Instead, on the Quest Pro, as we said, they have integrated cameras to do that by themselves. With that, you're able to grab things from the back or like to use it under the desk if that's what you want. I mean, the headset doesn't have to see the controllers to actually track them, and that's super cool in theory because, well, it's very, very buggy. Sometimes they don't track in the right position. Sometimes they take like 2 minutes to actually turn on and start to track. Sometimes like they just disappear or they don't feel very stable. Now, I'm pretty sure there's something they're gonna be able to, fix in the future. But so far, right now, Quest 2 is just better. They feel more responsive. They feel more, usable. It's weird, I know, but the point has to go to the Quest 2. And if I'm not mistaken, this is also the first point of the Quest 2. Applause, please. Next section is actually audio. Well, over here I'm gonna go very, very fast because they both have integrated audio in the straps, and they're very, very similar. Yes, the speaker is facing downward on the Quest Pro and they're facing backward on the Quest 2, but I didn't notice much of a difference when it comes to the microphone, when it comes to the speaker themselves. Still a good experience. I still prefer using headphones if I want to be immersed in games. But yeah, they're even. What they're not even at is battery life, because the Quest Pro is pretty bad at it. I get around 2 hours, 2 hours and a half of use when I'm using it, sometimes even less if I use all the sensors included. And there's just not enough sometimes for a playing session. If I start demo, I don't know if I'm gonna arrive at the end, and that's not just acceptable. On the Quest 2, instead, we have those 3 hours, 4 hours of battery life that are kind of enough for the playing session. It's already enjoyable. Out of the box experience, the Quest Pro is really, really bad. And it's also weird because it's very heavy on your head. So yeah, another point to the Quest 2 here. And one of the big reasons for the lesser battery life is actually the processor. They both use the XR2 processor by Qualcomm, but on the Quest Pro we have a kind of a newer version, a beefed up version that reaches higher clock speeds. Also over there we have more RAM. With that you're able to open browser pages while you're using a game is a bit better, and that's why we're giving a point to the Quest Pro. But don't expect any game working on the Quest Pro and not on the Quest 2. Just be aware of it. They both run the same thing, and that's why we're talking about software and features right now. As we said, the operating system is exactly the same. You're gonna have the same menus, you're gonna have the same everything. When you're gonna receive an update on one, you're gonna receive it also on the other. The only difference in the Quest Pro, we have many new features, 3 big ones. The first one is eye tracking, so you can actually increase the resolution of the places where you're looking at, so some games can run a bit better, and it can give more life to your avatars, also in conjunction with the other feature that is a face tracking, with which you're gonna be able to transmit your expressions and something like that to your avatars, and that's pretty cool indeed. The third feature is actually mixed reality, because this was built with this in mind, so using the cameras in the front to actually have a pass-through experience and add things in our environment. So they're very similar, they have the same games, the same applications. The point goes to the Quest Pro because it has more functionalities. And now let's talk about the pass-through. The difference here is very easy. On the Quest 2 we have the 4 cameras on the side to actually have a pass-through. They're trying to reconstruct the image in front of you to have a 3D perception. It's not perfect, but it works pretty much. The only thing is gonna be always in black and white. Instead, the Quest Pro was built right away to have color pass-through. Now, the resolution, to be honest, is pretty bad, so don't expect to use your monitors or look at your watch or something like that while using the pass-through mode, but it gives a great idea of the depth perception. So if you use mixed reality applications, they actually feel pretty right and pretty immersive. And yeah, again, it's colored, so you don't feel like being in a noir movie. It's one of the biggest features of the Quest Pro, so yeah, of course the points has to go to it. And because we're talking about pass-through and experiences, of course we have to talk about games. And well, here I'm gonna tell you right away, it's a tie, because we run the same games in one and the other. There's not really any difference. You don't really buy the Quest Pro for gaming, but if you want to play with it, well, it's even. Where it's not even though, it's in PC VR, using these standalone headsets to actually use PC VR games. So they both use link, they can be wireless or wired. I highly suggest wired in the case of the Quest Pro, because the battery life, as we said, is really bad. But we're giving a point to the Quest Pro here because, you know, in PC VR games you can really cramp up the resolution, go in simulators and something where the details are very important, and having these new lenses, it makes a real big difference. Playing on the Quest Pro feels like a kind of a next generation. Point to the Quest Pro, of course. Hey, let's try to give some points to the Quest 2, right? Let's talk about accessory and modability. Well, as I said at the beginning, the Quest 2 was built to be cheap. That means it was also built to be moddable. Well, you can add pretty much everything. It's absolutely incredible how many things they were built for the Quest 2. The Quest Pro, though, doesn't have the same flexibility because it comes, of course, out of the box with already, you know, an hard strap that is not even removable. So maybe in the future you could change a cushion, you can put maybe a strap on it, but that's about it. For modability, the Quest 2, of course, takes a point. And where it takes the points also is, of course, pricing. And well, talking about the price, the difference is staggering. The Quest 2 goes for $399 for the 128GB version and $499 for the 256GB version. Instead, for the 256GB version of the Quest Pro, that is the only version, they're gonna ask you a whopping $1,499. 1,800 euros actually in Europe. That is insane. And with that price, you don't even get a face cushion. Incredible. Also, by the way, if you're watching this live, that is around Black Friday, well, the Quest 2 is actually in offer for $349, with also included Resident Evil 4 and Beat Saber, that are biggest games on the platform. I'm gonna leave the link in the description below. It's for sure a good deal. But talking about the price, of course, well, there's not really a competition. We have a 3 times difference over here. I will give 3, 5, 6 points to the Quest 2 for that, but we're doing one by one, so yeah. 1 point for the Quest 2. And hey, here we have it. We came to an end, and the winner is, of course, the Quest Pro. Congrats! Is it though such a clear winner? Should you upgrade though? Well, it's not that easy like a point system this time. Because yeah, we're talking about a very premium prosumer headset with the Quest Pro. Yes, it's better on pretty much any single thing than the Quest 2. It feels like an upgrade. At the same time though, it's not a second generation. We still have the same processor. So in a year when the Quest 3 is gonna come out with the new processor, well, the Quest Pro will become already obsolete in a way. That makes a kind of weird thing to suggest. Is it the best way to get in a standalone VR right now? Yeah, it is. It has the most technological advanced things that you can have on the market right now. The lenses are incredible, the screens are very, very good, even if I would like more resolution. It's better than the Quest 2 on any single way, pretty much. So if you have enough money to don't care, well, of course, do it. Why not? It's so much better. But on the other side, know that it's gonna be probably obsolete soon, and that the Quest 2 is still a great value. And that's very hard to beat, because even if the fraction of the price gives you a great experience in VR, with everything very close to the Quest Pro, to be honest, and everything you need to actually experience VR for the first time and enjoy it in one of the best way possible that you have on the market right now. Hey, taking it from a VR enthusiast, it's not that much better for me to keep it. I'm actually returning the Quest Pro because I have no use for it. It's just a good headset, but it's too expensive for me, at least in my money situation, to justify it. So should you upgrade to the Quest Pro? Should you just get one or the other for your first VR experience? Well, I gave you the tools and the points, and then it's really up to you. Now you know everything in check to actually take a further decision. I trust you with that, but let me know, would you give different points to one or the other if you have experience of both, or are all in check? I hope it helped, and as always, if you liked the video, like. If you didn't like the video, dislike. Subscribe to the channel for more of VR tech. If you really love the channel, there's a join button in there. Later on further, also the Patreon. Thanks to all the Patreons for joining the channel, of course, and I see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.